On. Okay, great. We don't have a fancy intro on the Gud Performance podcast. Today, we have Josh Atwood. How you doing, Josh? Say hello to the folks.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, it's been a while. Really good to see you, chat with you. Hope you've been good.
Been great.
Yeah,
How was what?
It was good.
Yeah.
I was experiencing the city of Boston last night.
Yes,
I
you
saw
did.
some friends, and it was a good time. Good to
Nice.
catch up with some old folks.
You saw Alec working.
Yep, Alec let us into the establishment.
Nice.
Yeah, and hooked us up with some drinks, so it was a good time.
Awesome. So for our listeners and viewers, I think a brief introduction on who you are, what your athletic journey has been like thus far, and then we can get more into it. But yeah, let's hear a brief lore of Josh Atwood, and then we'll get, I don't know, a little more casual here. Tell the people who you are.
Introduce yourself.
So my name is Josh Atwood. I'm from Natick, Massachusetts. I grew up there. I started playing football when I was probably in like third grade is when I started, and I really kind of just fell in love from it early on. I eventually was getting to the point where like we were getting into high school age, and then it was kind of deciding which high school to go to. I ended up staying at Natick High School in the public school system, which I think for me ended up being the right decision because of the school side of things. The football experience was great. I had a great coach in Mark Mortarelli, and I kind of just grinded in high school up until the point where my summer going into my senior year, I went to a camp at UMass, and they offered me on the spot. They kind of pushed me into the corner to get me to commit right there. And I did, and I think it was the right decision looking back.
Real quick, tell us about that camp story before you move on. How did it happen? You were in there, you were doing, what drill was happening, and and what happened at that camp?
So I remember, I got invited to that camp. Coach Jim Jackson was the O-line coach at the time. He came to the high school and was like, listen, like, we really want to see you. I think you should come to camp, and I think that's where you'll be able to earn a spot. And then coaches say that all the time, but I feel like it never, ever happens. But fortunately for me, I get to camp, and I was like, do you want me to play offense or defense? He's like, you should do both today. So I was like, all right. So then we started doing the camp, and then I did all the testing first. So we were doing the L drill, and we ran like a 10-yard split. We did a broad jump and stuff. And I remember doing a race on the L drill, and I cooked the other dude that was racing against me. And the assistant strength coach at the time was Joel. Is he at Lehigh?
Lafayette. He was just out at San Jose State.
Yeah,
he's back out at Lafayette. Yeah,
he just got the head job at Lafayette. But I remember he like ran to go get the head coach, Coach Bell at the time, and was like, "You got to see this kid move, whatever." And then I do well the whole camp, and then we get to one-on-ones, and I take a rep at offense, I'd win. Then I'd flip around, take a rep at defense, and I'd win. And I just kept going back and forth, like just trying shit. I remember, like, I shook Coach Douglas, who was the D-line coach. I shook his hand. I was like, thank you. He's like, keep in touch, follow me on Twitter, And then we literally had just left. We went to Wendy's like a mile down the road. And I'm sitting in Wendy's, and I get a phone call. He's like, it was Coach Douglas. He's like, where are you? I go, I just kind of hit the road. He goes, would you be able to come back? And I was like, sure. Obviously, I'll go back. I'm not that far away. I went back, and then I sat down with him, and then we talked about ball a little bit. He had watched my film at that point, and then Coach Bell had came in and offered me.
So the story Bell told me when I got to UMass, the story Bell told me was more details to that was he goes, yeah, so Josh, he's at this camp. He's moving well. Joel comes up. He talks to me. I go, Cedric, go run inside and pull up this kid's film. And he pulls up your huddle and your lacrosse tape and comes down to Bell and was like, a guy that size should not be moving that well. Like, we need to offer this kid.
I mean, so that thankfully worked out really well for me. They did put the squeeze on me to commit on the spot. They said the spot. Someone else was coming to take that spot that same day. So, I mean, I took the opportunity, and I think in the long run, it was a good decision. And then UMass is where I played for 5 years. I played D-line. I committed as a D-lineman. I played D-line for 2 years. Then we got a new coaching staff, and once they came in, I had switched to offensive line. I started playing center. And from that point on, I had never really missed a snap for the next 3 seasons, which was pretty cool. I was a two-time captain. I was a captain in 2022 and 2023 and 2024. And I mean, I think I had a pretty solid career over the 5-year span.
1,000 career snaps.
Yeah. So I think I got so much football experience, and like being at a big school like UMass, who unfortunately wasn't on the winning side of most of these games, but I feel like I still got a good aspect of, I got to play SEC teams. I got to play big Power 5 schools like ACC teams. Like I got to experience those environments, and I think that was a huge benefit to the UMass experience.
Sweet. Yeah.
And you
That's a
just
good story. Troy's told me that story about the Josh Atwood UMass recruiting one, and that's always
My recruiting process was like literally the span of 3 hours.
yeah.
yeah,
No, that's good.
lucky you.
There's not a ton of recruitment that goes on.
So you just finished your final season there. What's going on now? What just happened? What happened after you finished that fifth and final year there?
Yeah, so I finished up. We unfortunately didn't make it to a bowl game this year. So we were done early December. That first week of December, we had finished the season. And I thought I was going to take some time to relax and hang out, as it was my last month in college. But it kind of turned out like after a week and a half of sitting around and just doing nothing, I got super antsy, and then I began training for my pro day. I busted out a 15-week training program for my pro day this March. I just completed it. I think it went pretty well. If I was at the combine, I would be at the top of most of those lists, which is, I think, pretty cool feeling to have done that. And now I'm kind of in that waiting game of, hopefully I get a call at the end of the month or sometime this summer. So it's kind of just waiting that out right now, staying in touch with the agent and things like that. But that's kind of where I'm at.
Sick. How important do you think it was for your development as an athlete, like when you were in high school playing different sports? Because we were just on another podcast, and that came up about, kids are hyper specializing and just doing one sport and saying like, this is what I do. But how important do you think that is? Because I know you're a big advocate for lacrosse, which is where you and Troy sometimes differ.
I think it is extremely important. Like, I think not only for the aspect of like being in games year round, like being competitive year round in like an organized team sport manner. I think that is a huge factor. I think the other factor is like football is such an unpredictable sport. Like there are so many unpredictable positions that you'll be in, and like things you'll have to do, to where I don't think you can like just train for all those scenarios. So playing these other sports can sometimes put you in those positions that you wouldn't normally be in a training process, or even in football every day. But like I think being able to do those things in another sport and like stay competitive year round, and like I think those things kind of, I mean, the best football players I know personally were not just football players. They were either basketball players, they played lacrosse, they were really good baseball players. Like the list goes on and on and on of the sports that all these guys play, and it makes them better at football.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so if football is your sport that you really, really want to pursue and you love it, playing these other sports is a way of training for football.
Yeah, 100%.
So now there was some overlap with you and Troy at UMass, but you were there after. What did you see in the weight room and on the field with newer recruits in terms of like, where do you think guys were underprepared when they got to school? Because, I haven't been in college football. We're almost like 5 years out of college football now. So you're fresh, but you got to see like this next couple incoming class with the recent like developments and NIL and a bunch of things have changed. What do you think has changed about the recruits versus like when you first started college football versus now? Like where are guys lacking? What's missing? What's better? Maybe it's improved.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind when you ask that question is like how guys are in the weight room. And there's typically two types of guys. There's guys that literally in high school just stayed in the weight room, got super strong, and like they got really good at that, and it helped them at football. And there's guys that are just so naturally talented and strong, like genetically, that they haven't lifted yet. Like they haven't even scratched the surface of their athletic potential. So I think from like a strength coach perspective, it's like, all right, this kid is so raw. He hasn't lifted yet. Like we can develop him how we want to, but you're behind. Like you can't play right away typically. Sometimes you can, but most situations, like you need to put weight on, you need to put muscle on, and like get your body ready for like Division I contact. Whereas those other guys that have lifted so much, they can sometimes get like they've developed bad habits sometimes. Like yeah, they can be strong, but like are they doing things the right way? Have they worked on You know, something that I've learned about myself in this process was like I got strong in high school and I was pretty much the strongest kid I knew forever. And then in my pro day training, I found all those little like the things I neglected growing up, like my core, my back, like these little muscle groups that I've neglected for so long are now surfacing, and like that is something that it's hard to overcome sometimes.
You
So I
just
think that's
found
kind
those,
of
You
huh?
just found them. Yeah, yeah.
You just discovered them.
yeah.
What was your training like in high school? Like I know was you were playing multiple sports freshman year you were 3 sports and then after that you were 2, but what was your training like? Was your training really just playing multiple sports year round, or what were you like in the weight room? What was your field work like? You said you found these little things that you've neglected over the years, but you went to college relatively strong. You also went to college very heavy. So what was training and everything like in high school?
So training in high school it really depended on the season I was in. So during the fall, we were obviously in football season. So we just did team lifts 2 days a week. We did, I think it was Saturday and Wednesday. We would do team lifts, and the Saturday one was more of like a football, like traditional football style of training. You hit your bench, your squat, you would hit your core. You would kind of get like that full body workout Saturday morning after a game. But our Wednesday workouts were, for good or bad, it would be more of like do 150 burpees, do 150 thrusters, like bench till your arms fall off, like that type of, I don't even know what I would call that type of training, but I think that,
Work.
yeah, like
Just
that's,
volume.
yeah, just volume. Like you have 2 partners, you need to get 500 reps of something. It's like that type of stuff. Those workouts I found to be more of a mental test than like you're gonna get stronger out of it.
Yeah, we talked about that with Brandon on the was it the last one or the one
Yep.
before that?
Yeah, last week.
About like work tests, like the skill that takes almost no talent. This is probably going to come up every time we do a podcast because it's so important. You need to have zero genetic advantage to be able to do those work tests.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to do push-ups, run your 300-yard shuttles, anything that just tests like you turning your brain off, closing your eyes, like gritting your teeth and just going, like that's free money. That's free playing time, and that only benefits you when you get to college football. Like if you've done that, if you even if it's not programmed like the perfect way or it can be improved like in a high school setting, because you did that, you're ready to go. Like, oh, I've been through hard workouts before. You get to college, it's like, okay, this is completely different, but it's the same concept as like this is just volume. Like this isn't necessarily like specific to some sort of thing. It's work. You're getting
Yeah,
it done. Like this is just really hard because
I'm with you.
football is
Like
hard.
there's definitely a place for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it should be done every week or, I mean, I'm not a strength coach. I can't tell you guys how to program or someone how to program a lift.
Yeah, but
But
your experience is valuable.
yeah, that was my fall, and then the winter of my freshman year, I wrestled. So it was kind of just wrestling, no working out really. Wrestling was workout enough. We'd head into spring for lacrosse season, and I was essentially just running every day. So I didn't really go in the weight room too much because I didn't want to mess my legs up, and I didn't really need to bench for lacrosse. So I kind of stayed out of there and I just ran. And then summertime was kind of where I got my majority of my lifting in. I was training at a facility in Foxborough. I would train there like 3 or 4 days a week in the summer, and I would work, and like I just had no free time, which I think was a good thing because I think I would have gotten to mischief if I wasn't so busy. And then I kind of kept that routine, except my winters. I stopped wrestling after my freshman year, and I started supplementing my winter with, I would do like CYO church basketball, and I would go to train at that facility in Foxborough.
So it kind of sounds like your year was split up. Like you do strength training and work in the summer. You'd play football, your main sport, get good at that in the fall. Then you were wrestling, body awareness, moving. Even when you switch to basketball, you're still moving around and getting good with your body. Like you're not just sitting around doing nothing. And then in the spring, you're playing lacrosse. Usually spring sports are lacrosse, track, or baseball, but you're running, which is especially important for you. But that's an interesting way to look at like how your year broke down and like each season had almost a different focus that you were working on, which is kind of how good training works. You're not gonna You're not going to add mass, get strong, get fast, get in good shape all at the same time. So I think that's interesting to see because you, even if it wasn't a conscious like decision, like everything you did kind of covered all your bases of things that you needed to do, whether, you were pushing really hard and everything, but like even just casual basketball and moving around like in the wintertime, that's a big difference than people who just want to take like a season off.
Yeah, and like for me, the basketball thing was really just because like I love competition. Like
You don't say.
I do. Like legitimately in everything I do, like there's some sort of competition in my mind. And like it's kind of hard to just consistently like do pickup or like get the boys together to play a game. So like I found that like the aspect of like actual organized basketball made that better. Like organized sports to me, when everyone's there and doing the thing every week, it's like I don't know. That feeling is really good to compete in that setting.
What about like spike ball?
I like spike ball. I don't even know the last time I lost a game of spike ball.
Yeah, okay. Wait till Thursday.
But even games like spike ball, like I feel personally that like to be a really good competitor, you need to be a competitor year round, all the time. If I play cards with my mom and my girlfriend and I lose, I'm pissed. I'm legitimately pissed because like everything is a competition. I'm not playing cards. Oh, I lost. That stinks. No, like I'm pissed I lost. Like I'm not playing this game to lose. But like it's legitimately like everything in my life feels like that sometimes. And I feel like it's kind of the best motivator.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. Competition is good.
Yeah, competition is good. So you mentioned your 15-week program, and you found these things. You train with us for
I was gonna say you haven't said yet. I'm like, are you gonna say where you trained?
I wanted to get into this because I don't know if I've asked you in a formal setting, or I don't know how this is not particularly formal, but
We got collared shirts on, pretty formal.
pretty formal, yeah, on a Sunday. Kahat. But how was it when you started with us? Like, just a brief like thought process, because obviously you went through 5 years of FBS football strength and conditioning, right? So you knew your basics, you know how to train. Your training was not hurting you on the field. There was nothing bad going on. But how was it when you started with us from an athlete's perspective? Because a lot of times we get guys from high school or college that are like early in college or going into college that have to get more of a foundation. But how is it to already kind of have a foundation and then train with us for the pro day? Like, what was different? What did you learn? Like, how was it training with us compared to like your previous training? And yeah, just speak on that. Like, what was different about Good Performance? What'd you like? What didn't you like? Or what, if you didn't like it, you probably needed it. But
What I'll say about I had this conversation yesterday with my good friend from high school. His roommate plays in the PLL right now. And I had this conversation with him yesterday. Yeah, professional lacrosse league. I had this conversation with him yesterday and we were talking about like training and training there and training with you and like kind of why it was good for me. And I think that like the biggest reason as to why I felt like I could excel with you guys at a faster rate than at the other place is because like I think my workout was so personalized. Like you guys found my deficiencies and found what I was good at and kind of wrote my workout that way. Like I was training and then Kyle Philbin was also training for a pro day. And I don't think our workouts were the same every single day. Like we did have some workouts that were the same, but like that even right there, like showing that the workouts were different because we're different athletes, like that's a pretty big deal. And I feel like when it is catered to you, you're able to adapt. As someone who adapts fast anyway, like I feel like I could adapt as fast as possible with a program that was catered to me. So I think that's the biggest, like that's the most important thing in my opinion that I've learned throughout this process.
yeah, where you're at right now, especially because like running another generic program, like, hey, this is a combine prep program. Like, yeah, we have the outline, but especially when we get into the individuals, there's going to be overlap with you and Kyle, but because you're both big dudes. But yeah, that eye for we do try to make sure that each guy is getting what he needs to get and work on what he needs to work on because everybody is different.
On that
How is
note,
that? How? What'd you say?
I was just gonna say on that note, like to that, Josh, there have been places that I've heard of and seen where, there's bigs and skills, like speed guys and big guys who are training for, whatever, a season, pro days, whatever it may be. And the big guys are doing the same thing as the small guys, and it may work for the small guys, but it doesn't work for the big guys. And the trainer's like, well, it's working for them. Why isn't it? I don't know why it's not working for you. It's like, they're completely different people. They're completely different people. I would not put you and Otto on the same plan. And,
I mean, I do better anyway.
And there are places that would do that, though, that just like, no, this is what we do. This is how we, train for pro days. You either acclimate to it or get fucked. And it's like, okay, that's not how this should work, though.
Well, that was a big thing I remember with your training specifically when we started. It was, we set pretty ambitious goals and then we moved them up again. Like 5 weeks in, we're like, oh, the training's going really well. Let's set even bigger goals. And I think the thing that at least Troy and I tried to do, I think we've done a decent job at, is nothing matters if you don't hit the marks.
Yeah.
Like, it could be great if one guy did good, but the other guy didn't, or say you have 3 guys that do well and 1 guy that doesn't do well. Well, why didn't the one, like, who cares about the 3? Yeah, that's your job. You were getting paid to do that. Of course, the 3 guys did well. Why the hell did this one guy not improve?
Yeah, like that. And like, it doesn't sound as bad when you put it in that perspective. Like, I had 3 guys that did great and 1 guy that didn't do so well. But like, think about that kid, like what he's thinking. Like, how come everyone else is excelling and I'm here? I plateaued. Like, I made some improvements and then I plateaued. Like, that kid's paying for service too. Like, he's either training for a season or training for the draft, which is, even crazier. It's like, to not get results and like not have your plan adjusted to that is, I think, it's just an immensely big disservice to that athlete,
Yeah, that's what I mean, why we've tried to do what we've done, because it seems like to us that isn't, I think coaches a lot of times will say, well, if I have 75% of my guys make progress and the other 25% of my guys don't, well, it's the 25% who's not making progress. Whereas the way that we want to think is everyone needs to make progress. Our job is to progress and better than you would be on your own. Like, it needs to be significantly better than if you went on Google and downloaded like free combine prep template, did that. You'll probably make decent progress if you stick to that schedule and get it done. So then, okay, that's the baseline. It's just random athlete looking online, getting some template and running it and getting some improvements. That's the baseline. Like, if you are a coach, like when we're training guys, we need to blow past that because we're there with guys training. Like, especially with those technique drills where we're like working on the different movements and positions, like that wasn't just like, imagine if we had have gone with some of those drills and you were just practicing them, or we didn't, like, it's working through each different cue until you're like, oh, okay, that's it. Cause like every athlete's different, but then from the mental standpoint, it's like every athlete responds differently to coaching. So if I say, hey, yeah, jump into this, and I keep using the same cue for you to get into this position or do a drill like this way, and you're not getting it, well, it takes responsibility off of me to say, well, he just doesn't get it. I don't know. He's dumb. Like, he doesn't get it. It's like, no, my job is to find a way. Our job is to find a way so that you do get it, so that you can make progress. And that's like, I don't know if that's uncommon, common, or just overlooked aspect of coaching, because I think sometimes people just get lost in the science of like, well, if you do this with this load for this amount of time, this rep range, like this will happen. But training is so nuanced because it's people, like it's a person. These are so many different variables involved in like an individual athlete that you can't just say this is going to work. Like, this guy might be a total head case, or this guy might not be able to get into this position. Like, why is this? And we don't have 10 weeks to do some corrective exercise where like you're going to get this relative range of motion, and then hypothetically in paper on the textbook that's going to fix your movement. Yeah, well, you still suck at the drill. So,
well, another thing that Otto and Otto and I like, and Josh, you can tell us if you don't like it from the athlete's perspective, but to us as coaches, it makes sense. And I see other places that don't do it, and that's telling you your baseline numbers of where you're at, telling you where you're at each week when we test the drills and this, and showing you, so you know exactly where you're at throughout training. And when you get to pro day or combine, knowing, okay, I should be in this range. And there are places that just don't do that. So the athletes have no idea. Then they go and test and they're like, is that good? And the trainer's like, yeah, that's good. Like, how did you feel about that during training where every week we're testing something and you know exactly what your time is and what's going on and so forth?
Yeah. I mean, I think me and Phil are a little different in that way, to where he was more like in tune with those numbers, asking about those numbers, and like just trying to kind of make sure like he knew exactly where he was. Where I think for me, I was a little different because I knew what my pre-test numbers were. Like I knew what that was, but I didn't find that I needed to know every number every day. For me, it was how I felt doing it, and if the number was improving, like if those two things were going right, then like that's kind of all I cared about. Um, like as long as it's just going in the right direction for me, that was all that mattered. Like I didn't need to, oh, that was 1/100th of a second.
That goes into the every athlete's different. Like you just wanted to know, was it better or worse? It was better. Okay, great. Don't tell me the number. Whereas Kyle was, what was it? What was it? What was it?
Yeah, which is fine. Like we're just different, you
Yeah.
know.
How helpful was it to sit down and go over like expectations of what, how would you do it differently? Or how did you feel about when we sat down? I remember when you started training, like mapping out, all right, this is where you're at. Like, obviously, not great, whatever your baseline is, anytime you start something new. This is where you're at. This is what we can expect with good training. We're going to set the bar, like, we're going to set goals way above that. So we're pushing, pushing, pushing. But how helpful is that? Because maybe I think that Phil was more of an X factor in terms of we didn't really know like the realm of how much like he surpassed our expectations in terms of like, oh wow, that's actually better than we thought considering his lack of testing, like athletic testing experience. But how did that help you? And do you think that played a role into you weren't as worried with the specific times because we set those expectations of like this is where you're at, this is what we can expect in our 10, 20, 12 weeks that we have. This is what we're looking to chip away at. Is that helpful? Is that beneficial? Has a coach done that with you before starting like a training plan? Like this is where you're starting at, and this is what we're aiming to do. This is what our outcomes should be. We're going to set goals past them, and then if we fall short, we're even past like what the standard is.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, that was the first time I've sat down and like gone over, like, here's where you are right now. Like, the majority of programs and stuff that I've done in the past, I've just kind of jumped into them. And then at the end, it's like, wow, I just benched, whatever, or I squatted whatever, or I did a power clean this much. Like, there was never like, I'm starting here. Because I felt like I was always just in like a working phase. But I think it was helpful to like, pro day is different because it's such a numbers based game. Like, it's nothing to do with football, and it's just how well can you achieve these numbers. And I think in that setting, I think it's very helpful to like have an idea of where you're at before you like finish your training cycle. Like to know it's kind of hard to like have like expectations on pro day at all. Like you've never been in that environment before. If it's your first pro day or combine or whatever, it's kind of hard to like go into your first one like having too much of expectations. But like I kind of knew the range of everything I was doing. Like I had a range in my head of every exercise I was going to do and kind of like where I would fall. And like I had all right, if I have my best day, I'll hit this. If I have my worst day, how I've done in training, like I'll probably be around here and I'm still okay with that, but I'd rather be better.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's very
good.
helpful to know, like,
So there's
knowing
no
that,
surprises. It's good to know
yeah,
there's no surprises when you get there.
I mean, there was good surprises.
There was good surprises, but there's no like, I can't believe that. That's terrible. No,
Yeah.
like you knew what to expect.
That piece is probably important for anyone that's listening or watching this that trains with us or anywhere else. If you're an athlete or even just training for anything, you should have expectations before you start training for something. You should set those expectations, which is different than goals. Expectations and goals, I think, are two different things, right? Because we had the expectations of you're going to show up, you're going to take care of all the little things. This is how we're going to move. But the goals we set are so high, we're not expecting you to achieve the goal, right? Like that's when expectations fall short. The expectation is like, this is standard training. This is what is feasibly possible, like the standard of progress in any movement. People should do that. It would be beneficial to sit down and do that, whether it be, I mean, something that we'll probably do this summer. We sit down and we do expectations with like training, getting stronger and faster, but getting more nuanced into prepping for like the football season is expectations for what types of improvement can you get in your skill work? Like what skills can you acquire while you're training to benefit you on the field? Because I think that approach is extremely lost. Like people are like, yeah, I'm going to do diligent work. I'm going to make this much progress on their squat or their sprint time. But that is not how people approach like getting skilled at something. That is not how it might be how some, but it's not how the majority of athletes look at learning how to pass set or learning how to make a juke or run through, like run a certain route or backpedal or get into coverage. Like that approach, I think, needs to be more emphasized. I think that's something that Troy and I are going to try to do this summer with our guys at the field session, because it's the same thing. I mean, if you can go in and get your jump, squat, bench up, like it's the same work and diligence, but it's just, you can't just go to the field with some cones and be like, oh yeah, I did some field work. Like I'm getting more agile. I'm getting more skilled. Like I'm working on my footwork. Like you need a way to measure that. I think a good way to start would be reps, like just track your reps. This is also probably something for you. I mean, we'll talk about this too, but as you get into the next level, the next tier of football is just, all right, what can I improve upon and how many reps am I doing at that thing to get really good at it, so that when the time comes and I'm required to do this, like I am so rock solid. It's the same thing with the 40-yard dash. Like guys won't train 40-yard dash to run 40-yard dash. And it's like,
Yeah.
how in the world are you going to be prepped for that? And you experienced it, right? That first 40 at Pro Day, you're like, I saw you at the finish, like, I was so nervous. Like, God, like that is a different 40 than it.
Like you can just feel your heart. Like there's nothing you can do to calm it down.
Yeah, and now imagine if we hadn't done any 40s. Like you had no setup or to go back. Like that's when guys just completely like miss the mark. It's the same thing with in a football game, in a game. Like if you haven't repped out a play or you haven't done a technique, and then it's like you expect to do that on game day.
Yeah, it's like I just made a post saying that same thing, saying there is no secret, like it's just reps, continuous reps of doing things to get better at them, like exactly what you're saying. Like when we got Jake, he didn't want to run a 40, and we're like, you have to run your 40, Jake. You have to get reps at it. If you want it to improve at all, you have to do it. You mentioned Pro Day being very nerve-wracking. It's your first time doing that. We did a couple, I believe we did two and a half. That last one was kind of a ish mock Pro Days. Do you feel those benefited you getting to actual Pro Day and, you know, feeling what the day will be like, long, drawn out, getting in all the drills and so forth?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard
Helping with
to
your
like,
nerves.
yeah, it's hard to like prepare for that much, like for those testing, and like to not be sore during it is kind of hard to prepare for. Like it is so much explosion and like wear and tear on your body that like no matter how many mock pro days you do, I feel like you're gonna still be extremely sore during the end and like after your pro day's over. But I do think that like I was able to have expectations of that for pro day, because I remember after that first mock pro day, I was like, damn, like my legs hurt. And then I go home that night and go to sleep and I wake up and I feel like I got hit by a train. And it's like, it's so hard to prepare for that. But like then going into a real pro day, like I knew the expectations of how my body was going to feel like during it, you know? So it is very valuable.
Sweet. All right, that's enough training talk. I think we'll have Josh back on just because
Westside Barbell Official just followed Good Performance.
huge. R.I.P. Louis Simmons.
R.I.P. Louis Simmons.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think there's that UFC fighter. I think he still trains at Westside.
What's his name? I remember you.
Dobson.
Dobson. Yeah. Nordic.
Yeah,
Nordic guy.
Yeah, that guy's a beast. I've never seen anyone be so good at Nordics. Well, I mean, I'm pretty good, but he's very good. That's where I got the one on the various arm variations I saw him do. I was like, that looks hard,
That looks
very difficult.
mean.
I gotta try that. Favorite meal?
Yeah,
No,
I was
no.
just about
Here's my prompt. Actually, here's my
I
prompt.
like to end the podcast with some non-training related talk.
Yeah, or
So
maybe we flip it up in the future and start with non-training and then get into it. But if you had one food, say you needed to get like you need to live off of this, you need to function as an athlete, you needed to compete, but you're only allowed one food to do it. And you have to take into consideration like micronutrients, all your macros. Also, the only thing that you can eat, you can vary the serving sizes, I guess, but same thing with game day, recovery, pre-workout. It is the only food, and it can be a dish, I think. I don't know. You guys can chime in.
It doesn't. I already
That's
have my answer.
what's the
you already
question? What's
okay.
the question here? What is it? The
You have
only
one
food you can
that you
eat?
can eat. Like you're a high performing athlete. You're existing. You have one food. It's like, oh, if you could only eat one food, but I'm adding layers to it because you have to
It's
think
a
about
meal. It's not just a food. It's not just one particular item. It's a meal.
yeah, it's like one thing that you have to eat for like let's say a full year of training and competing. And your answer is also graded on micronutrient and macronutrient profile. So like you can divvy up the servings, like you can have a little bit in the morning so you're not like lightheaded before you work out. You can eat more of it, but you also have to be careful about what it is because if you're eating too much of whatever. So I don't know. Or I'm overthinking it and it's too
Okay,
detailed.
Josh.
I don't like the just one food. What is it? It will be graded. Everyone's responses will be graded on that criteria.
I'm picking a New York strip steak because my favorite steak is a ribeye. The reason why I'm not picking a ribeye is because there's too much fat in it. So I'm picking the New York strip specifically because I feel like it has a much more healthy fat to meat ratio for that good flavor. But also, like I found even in this training cycle that like my mental clarity when I'm eating more red meat is significantly higher than when I eat chicken. I was in a pretty good groove of eating red meat, and then I ate chicken one day for dinner, and I was still starving after I ate the chicken, and I woke up feeling like shit, and I was like, all right, I'm staying on my red meat.
So there's no other sides to this. You're just eating a New York strip steak every day, every meal. Like you're getting no carbs. You're
You have
getting
a plate
no
to
vegetables. Like you have a
yeah.
plate to fill. It's a meal.
I'll put
You want me to go first? You want me to give you, because I know.
No,
You can
listen,
think about what you want on your sides.
I know what it is too.
Okay.
I'm going broccoli. Broccoli's going to be on there because broccoli is the best vegetable.
Yeah.
The only downside to broccoli is that it makes you a little gassy sometimes. So you got
Yes.
to deal with that.
Yes, it
But
does.
I'm doing broccoli, and then my carb is going to be those little potatoes cut in half, roasted in the oven so they get nice and crispy. It's going to be potatoes, broccoli, New York strip steak, 3 meals a day, every day. I'm doing that.
Nice.
For breakfast, I'll put a little fried egg on top of the steak.
No, is that allowed?
I don't think so.
I don't think that's allowed.
No.
Mine is going to be a bowl of white rice, 80-20 ground beef, preferably grass-fed, chopped up pickles and red peppers with barbecue sauce.
You're eating that every day.
I could eat that every single day. That is my favorite fucking meal of all time. White rice, grass-fed ground beef, barbecue sauce, chopped up red peppers and pickles. I could eat that every day until I died.
Interesting.
What about you, Otto?
I would probably. It's interesting you say the steak over the chicken because I just think that if I was only eating steak, I would just get sick of it. I got to do a lot of work to steak for me to eat it. Like sometimes
It does take you a long time to chew it
you
sometimes.
miss yeah. It's got to be something easy. So I'd probably go with like chicken and broccoli and keep it real simple. What I do, chicken, broccoli, and pasta.
Chicken, broccoli, and yogurt is what he would
Double
do.
carb.
Yogurt. Well, I mean, yogurt's like another dish. I mean, theoretically, well, no.
Yeah, you get 3. Like if it's on a plate, you can put a little cup of yogurt on your plate with your chicken and broccoli. I think you would eat that every day.
I feel like I could function pretty well if I only had my half
Yogurt.
a tub of Greek yogurt, frozen berry medley, and granola.
Do you do plain Greek yogurt or what flavor?
I usually do plain. I try to cut down sugar. Sometimes I get like the flavored ones, but it's really just whatever the store is.
What brand do you go with? I do Siggy's plain. I like Siggy's.
See, the issue with Siggy's,
I know you're quite the Greek yogurt connoisseur.
it's not as good bang for your buck. So
Okay.
I also do I'm a fan of rotating my yogurt, granola, anything that I eat regularly, like yogurt, granola, oatmeal, like those things I try to rotate because I don't like eating I don't know this might be completely crazy. I don't like eating one thing, one brand, one like thing over and over and over again because then I'm like, what if this company is secretly poisoning me and I've been eating this one what if I've been eating this one brand of something for like 5 years? So I try to always just randomly rotate, or I'll take a break from, I'll eat yogurt for a while and it's like, I need a break from yogurt. What if they come out with a study that yogurt is actually really very bad for you?
I
I
mean,
don't
yes,
think it is, but
that is crazy as you prefaced before you said it, but
I'm
I
all
understand.
over the place. A little bit moderation, a little bit of chaotic moderation, I think is the key to diets because then you're not too oversaturated in any one area. Sometimes sometimes you eat more fish, maybe you'll get a little sausage,
Yeah.
switch to
No,
steak.
diet is hard. To find something that you can sustain is challenging.
Yeah, but
Let's do.
I would probably do chicken and broccoli and maybe pasta, like not the folic acid, shitty pasta, the good stuff, the important.
If so, here's we'll end on this last one here. It can be more directed to Josh, as the food connoisseur here. How to maintain weight? This is a question someone asked via the Instagram. How to maintain weight during August camp or spring ball? How did you? Because it's extremely hot. You're practicing, 5 hours a day if you include lifts and stuff. You're always at the facility. How you're gonna lose weight during camp? That's just how it works. How do you maintain weight? What do you do to help maintain weight during those times?
Yeah, I think the good thing about camp is that I feel like you're gonna eat pretty clean most of the time, but you're training so much that you do have a little more room to like eat food you enjoy. You're gonna go to the dining hall and I'm gonna get chicken and rice and whatever, but I'm also gonna get, maybe a sushi roll here, maybe a slice of pizza over there. Those things I think help with that, but it's also I think about that you can't skip meals. Like that's the number one problem. Like sometimes you're exhausted after practice. It was so hot, like you chugged water, like all that stuff, like you don't want to eat. But making sure you go to the dining hall or like going home and like you have to eat that meal. Like skipping a meal when you're training like that is kind of setting yourself up for failure. That's how you get cramps. That's like it's just a long cycle of issues that would arise from not eating those. And
Aches.
yeah, there's definitely been a few fall camps where I've gained weight during camp.
Only you.
That's
Only
insane.
you.
That's insane. I would always go into camp a little bit heavy because I knew I was going to lose, 15 pounds. And if I'm lucky, put 5 back on and play at 10 pounds less than what I went in at. Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's been years where I tried to go into camp light because I knew I was going to go to the dining hall 3 meals a day.
that all you can eat UMass dining.
I'm a pretty unique athlete in that manner, I think.
I'd say
So,
that, yeah.
answer, not skipping those meals, like that's huge. Like once you start skipping a meal, then you're going to be in a bad spot.
Yeah, people who skip meals.
Yeah, imagine waiting until 6 p.m. to eat a granola bar.
Josh, for the people listening that may not know you and they want to follow along your football journey and whatnot, where can they follow you at?
I'm most active on Instagram. My Instagram handle is, let's see here, Josh_Atwood90. And that's kind of where I just keep up with my training and update people with things that are going on. So that's where you can find me.
Cool. Anything else, guys? That was pretty good. Concise. I think we get all of our chatting with Josh at the gym. When we talk to other people, there's so much to talk about, and then it's like,
I know.
I'm gonna see him tomorrow. We'll probably.
What time you coming in tomorrow?
I don't know. I might sleep in.
The fuck? All right. Good Performance Podcast, episode 3. Josh Atwood. I'm Troy Shallow. That's Otto Zaccardo. And don't forget,
Good outro.
Yeah, good.
Don't forget.
Don't forget. Don't forget.
Don't forget. What were we gonna say? I forgot. Yeah. Follow us. We're putting this up on YouTube, Spotify, all over the place. We'll
YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, website, everything.
It may suck now. I don't know. I think it's off to an all right start. It's getting there. Reps.
Yeah. See, everything is
Yeah, follow it, like it, write reviews on it, preferably good ones.
5 stars, please.
5-star. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do what Zach does. We'll
Yeah,
do
giveaways.
giveaways for 5-star reviews. So
Yeah, we'll
protein
pick-
bars. Every 5-star review. Maybe we'll cut this out. We'll have to think about the actual logistics of this. It's a
We'll
free
pick a random person that gives a 5-star review, and we'll give them a Gud shirt. 1 a week.
or store credit, GPC credit.
Sure. Sure.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. If you have questions or topics that you would like us to cover or go over, tell us. DM Good, DM Troy. You can message me, but if you want it on the podcast, DM Good or Troy. Yeah, give us ideas, give us content. We're figuring shit out, so we're just talking about what we know, but I'm sure there are a lot of guys out there that have good ideas for us to talk about that we wouldn't even think of. So yeah, keep pushing. Get good. Like and subscribe.
Can you end the recording, but we
Yeah,
stay on?
I can end the recording. All right, see you guys. Thanks, Josh. I'm gonna
Yes, thank
stop
you.
it.